give me some, let's see. All right, well, this is as good as it's getting today. I've got the settings good. So for calling in, if you want to write this down, we're supposed to be able to get call-ins now. I have a new number to call for the show. 320-298-4656. That's supposed to ring directly in here, as well as the regular show number, 347 number. I don't have that off the top of my head. Doggone it. Hold on. Okay. Get that for you in just a moment here. It's loading. 347-688-2902. All right. And again, the 320 number. It's 320-298-4656. Okay, so you can call in if you want to. That'd be fine. We'll give it a try. If not, I have some topics to talk about that were emailed to me. Requests. Let's see. We had a good trip to Missouri. Just some updates. Again, I was asked by Acres USA to be one of their speakers at their yearly conference in Columbus, Ohio this year, in December. So I'll be talking about agriculture, what we're doing for agriculture, the genetically modified microorganisms that are living in organic soils. That'll be part of the topic. Plus, I just got to go ahead to get the next generation of scanning, where the computer talks to the body and determines what is going on, as well as creating a protocol and then energy medicine of feedback, biofeedback to the body. I got the pleasure of working with a pretty large rancher in Missouri while we were there. He was having some pink eye problems and some other things. The main one right now is pink eye in his herd being spread by flies. Got to scan a couple of cows, or one cow and one steer. He sees the value because he asked me, he goes, hey, as long as you're here, can you look at this cow? She was laying down. There'll be pictures on our website here pretty soon once we get them over to Joel of me scanning a cow. This particular cow was wasting away. It had a major pink eye last year. It went blind in that eye. The infection went away, and then it just in the last month has diminished, lost hundreds of pounds in the last couple months. And he says, you got anything? And I said, well, I got some stuff. Let's try it. In less than 36 hours, we noticed a turnaround. We got the cow up and into the chute. And we have this medicine bag. Basically, it's like an enema where you put your substance in the bag, you lift it way up high, and gravity tubes it down its throat. It's also called drenching. So I tubed the cow with 4 different things, and we put it in a pen. In less than 36 hours, it started improvement that quick. So we tubed it again before we left. Improvement 100% today from 2 days ago. So he was like, okay, we want to do the whole herd now. He was seeing was believing. Microbial management, I told him. We scanned them. Cows, both the cow and the steer loaded with different kinds of odd infections, sinus problems, the eye thing, pink eye. The one eye on the steer was a fresh one. It's a yearling. It was bulging out of its socket. It looked horrible. Microbial management. He bought a insecticide applicator where the cows rub on this thing and it puts insecticide with a carrier of kerosene on it, to carry the insecticide to get on the backs of the cows. That was his answer originally, until I started reasoning with him why that's not going to serve him in the big picture. It may cut down on the flies right now on the cow, but the problem isn't even in the fly. The problem is the environment around, and he really got it just by seeing the effect in less than 2 days on that cow. So we're now going to be doing 400 head of cattle in Missouri just on his herd, and he's got several friends with similar problems. I love working with animals. They just respond so much easier. There's like no doubt, trepidation, fear. You just put the stuff down their throat and it works, because they don't want to be ill. Unlike people, a lot of people like it to be ill. So that's what I did over the last week. Another fun trip. We also sold some fodder. We installed the fodder system on a farm, and they bought another one we were going to ship to them next month. And then we sold a large fodder system. So when you go to the website, fodder, F-O-D-D-E-R, fodderproduction.com, which there's not much there now. It's still under construction. But if you're interested in knowing a farmer, a rancher, I don't care if you got 5 chickens or if you got 5,000 head of cattle, taking the grain, sprouting it into grass, and feeding it to your animals is going to serve you better than feeding dry grain and hay. We have chickens, ducks, and pigs here that we've been feeding them with now a couple of generations, and the amazing health of the animals, plus the pork chops, the bacon, the eggs, the duck eggs, the beef produced from animals that eat the fodder, and use our supplements is unmistakable. The nutritional density is much higher. It's kind of interesting. So let's get to some questions. Can you saturate the body with minerals to help kill parasites? Yeah, that's part of it. Parasites are there because the body is allowing them to be there. A lot of times, it's the minerals. It's an overall problem, a systemic problem, though. Just like I had one gal that did a scan, and before she started taking the product, we did the Psyche, and just by doing the Psyche, she released a parasite. This is what I mean about humans versus cattle, animals, goats, pigs, chickens. Animals don't want to be sick. Humans have this illness. There's a payoff for being sick. And if you have negative programs that have been instilled into you that support sickness, you'll be sick. That's a dynamic that is so not there with animals. This is what makes working with people so much challenging, so much more challenging. Because of the social engineering over the last how many years now? Lots of years. Generations, actually. There's like an instilled sabotage. That's why people have addictions. That's why people cut themselves. That's why people throw themselves into walls and hurt themselves. Where animals don't really have that problem unless they're really infected with something. Really, you have to have a really bad parasite problem. So dousing with minerals is only part of the issue with parasites and infections. Here's another one that's kind of my favorite. Antibacterial soaps and chemicals coming up on scans even without conscious exposure. Well, just the use of them, they're so toxic, they're pesticides. I see a lot of people squirting that stuff and rubbing it on their bodies. Well, I shake hands with a lot of people, or I this, or I'm that. And even in hospitals, they're mandatory. You go from room to room, you got to put that junk on you. It actually retards your immunity. It's a pesticide. You soak it in. The alcohol, you soak it in. The alcohol they use is crap. It's made from genetically modified crap. So it's a double poison. We need microbes on the outside of us and on the inside of us. For the most part, it's only when they become imbalanced or pathogenic that there's a problem. Why do they become pathogenic? Because your body's allowing it, because they can, because they're opportunistic. They will grow, overpopulate when the protection is not there. So you have to ask yourself, why is your body allowing the parasites or the infections to be there? That's a much better question. And actually, antimicrobial hand sanitizers and soaps break down your immunity so you get, it drops your immune system so then they can grow. They then have the opportunity to overgrow. There's so many analogies, I don't even know where to start. How about just eating grains, nuts, and seeds? There's your first one. Grains, nuts, and seeds start to wear away at your immune system, all by itself. Plus, it raises the glucose levels. Plus, it drops it causes endocrine system stress. It causes brain damage. Read Grain Brain, Wheat Belly, grain damage. Believe me, I'm not the only one saying this. We get to handle lots of people, and I'll tell you what, number one contributing factor to illness, grains, nuts, and seeds. Number one. More than sugar. How about another epidemic that we're running into that most people don't even look at, or even consider? Heidel Hernias. We're running over 90% of people that we deal with have a traumatized diaphragm or Heidel hernia. To the point you can't breathe using your abdomen and your diaphragm. You're stuck breathing up in your rib cage and shoulders. And you know, most of that's a birth problem. It starts at birth. And they don't teach people how to fix this. It's a manual process. I did a whole family this last weekend on Sunday. The dad was the only one that didn't have the issue. The mom and the rest of the kids all did, even the grandkids. You know, that's some pretty epidemic figures right there just in one family, all but one. 5 out of 6. What happens when your diaphragm gets locked? Your stomach is connected to your diaphragm. So if your diaphragm's not flexing, it's basically pulled your stomach out of place, putting stress on your pancreas, your spleen, your liver, your gallbladder. Your hormones your digestive juices are going to be out of balance. You're going to be in an acidosis state. It's going to be then putting pressure up on the lungs and the heart. So then you're going to not be able to oxygen saturate. Putting stress on the heart alone causes all kinds of problems. You see, so this whole thing is not about taking pills, really. It's a holistic view of ours. So when you can't breathe deeply, like I didn't until I was in my 30s, I was taught this procedure by one of my instructors. He saw that I was having a problem. He said, "Get over here." Class gathered around. He pulled my diaphragm down. I passed out. Since then, I've learned how to do it lying down to other people so you don't have to fall down, pass out. I was in my 30s. I've never taken a deep breath in my life. If your umbilical cord was cut before the placenta was released from the uteral wall, you now have a traumatized diaphragm. That's standard allopathic medical procedure. Number one illness causing in the entire world is allopathic medicine. And now I lump naturopathic medicine into that view as well because they're doing the same thing. Very few midwives and naturopathic doctors are birthing children and encouraging the placenta to be released first and birthed first before the umbilical cord is cut. I wasn't taught it for my kids. I was taught it the allopathic way. I have one child left of my 4 that has an issue. She's just stubborn. Kind of like her dad. Well, first break almost here. My screen says no calls, so after the break, I'll just keep going down this list of points to talk about, dialoguing the best I can to broaden the understanding. Thank you for being here. Joe just added some more stuff. You got to check our website, bodyelectrician.com. We got a lot more information that we're in the process of editing and getting up there to help you gain an alternate perspective to life, to health, to you. Hey, this is Wil, your host, and this is An Alternate Perspective. You're hearing us on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Largest listener-sponsored network of its kind on the internet. So if you're listening, get your butt over to freedomslips.com and check out all the different things you could be doing to make sure this station, this network, this show continues to be here week after week. I do my best. Do you do yours? It's perfect. Okay, call-ins. Okay, there's a number change. You got the old one here, 347-688-2902. I'm not sure if that one works. It didn't last week. This week, got a new number too. Try this one, 320-298-4656. Okay? Again, 320-298-4656. Okay? Now, let's back to this list of comments, questions, concerns, complaints, love complaints. Okay, antimicrobial soaps. Yeah, you don't want antimicrobial, anything. I mean, there are times and places for them. But in just general, everyday use, you don't want them. See, now I got to lead into a little background, just a little bit of thoughts about why are there so many chemicals in our environment? Why is there such a push for chemicals? Just look at the logic. It really started in the 50s, heavily. They were promoting arsenic for certain things, or lead, as prevention or as healing or whatever. Craziness. You see, to control genetic modification, you have to have all parameters controlled for gene expression. In order to do that, you can do it by polluting the environment and then controlling the pollution. It's really that simple. And because the current agenda at the government level is to push the genetic modification, the nanotechnology, the transgender, there's a word I'm looking for, transhumanism, I guess that's the word. You see, the 14th Amendment, not the real one, but the one that's there now, the 14th Amendment has taken and made everyone chattel. Has taken all your rights away. You are now property of the corporate United States. You have a social security number. You have a birth certificate number. See, they own you. I learned this the hard way. I actually learned this at gunpoint because my youngest child had some birth problems. He was like 2 months old. Nothing I was doing. I couldn't find any help. I ended up at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning in the hospital. I tried to leave with him till a deputy drew his gun on me in the entryway. That's right, in 2002. It was about the June of this little bit, like last month, but in 2002, I got educated. That cop says, you can leave, but your son can't. See, what he didn't realize is I didn't have a birth certificate on my son at that time. I didn't know what I know now. But anyways, when a dude's pointing a gun at you, you make some choices you normally wouldn't make. The law protects the corporation and all of its property. You got a social security number, you got a birth certificate, you are property of the corporate United States. Under the current fictitious rulings, everyone's playing the game now. You're property. You are a non-human asset, a thing, and therefore the government controls that, their interests, their assets. It gets convoluted from here. But my point is that in the government, in allopathic medicine, in that realm, you are not a human being. You're a thing to be controlled and manipulated. There's no humanity in medicine. I learned this from a medical doctor. I learned this from a nurse, a couple of nurses. The doctor gets compensated for every person's genetic expression that he can manipulate through using pharmaceutical drugs. He gets a kickback. It's kind of like how they bundle mortgages up and get them on the stock exchange. Well, your medical file, your corporate medical fiction is done the same way. That's why all the blood tests all the time, because they're always making sure that your gene expression is accurate based on the doctor's basically patent on you, on your expression of your genes. Don't believe my word. Please go check this out. If you're getting blood tests, you're in the game. Your medical personnel are making money on you. You see, this comes down to genetic integrity. Hardly anybody has natural gene expression anymore because of the amount of chemicals in our environment, the amount of modified microbes in our environment, the amount of genetically modified food that people are consuming and breathing in the air, and the crap all around us. It's in their textbooks, folks. I've got a high of, this would be like medical textbooks in genomics, which talks about how they're modifying the genes and what it takes. It's a 2007 textbook. I got my hands on a copy. Somebody smuggled it gave it to me out of a college. They weren't supposed to. It's like they don't want this information out. Some of it got out. Okay? They have to control. They meaning the medical system. They meaning the industrialized sector. They meaning the controllers. Have to control all parameters. And that's how they control the gene expression. Because the genes automatically express based on input from the environment. So you have to control the environment. Easiest way to do that is to poison the environment and then control it from chaos, through chaos. It's very simple. Because the natural environment is always continually changing. Continually. The only thing constant is the change. One thing you can count on is our environment is always in flux. So using antimicrobial soap, hand sanitizers, those air spritzers like Febreze, all that crap, all this crap in our environment, it retards your gene expression. So anyhow, these are some of the things that I'll be sharing at this year's conference. And then how to fix it, how to reverse it. That's what we do. We restore genetic integrity. We restore the ability for the body to actually get the proper stimuli from the environment so the body can regulate itself. That's what we do. Most people's bodies are not able to modulate based on environmental stimuli. That's why we have all this illness around us. Okay, let's talk about another one. How anxiety and emotions regarding scan results can be as detrimental or possibly even more than the toxins themselves. Kind of like the placebo effect in reverse, a negative placebo. What happens if I told you you had cancer? Most people just thinking that thought have an adrenaline dump, a stress hormone release. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Or maybe you're aligned with Dr. Hamer. Check him out, newmedicine.ca on the web. Dr. Hamer, German New Medicine. I'm aligned with him. I've had cancer, I think it's 6 or 8 times on my scan reports over the years. I know cancer is a natural, if it's true cancer, is a natural part of the chelation process. I also know what causes cancerous cells. But what if I told you you had AIDS? You had gonorrhea? How about herpes? How about one of those other fancy words that they use in allopathic medicine? The diagnosing words. The ALS, the chronic fatigue, the fibromyalgia, the lupus. Oh, you have Lyme disease. How do you feel? Just the thought of it, whether it's accurate or not, will throw your body into a stress state. And if you're a highly suggestionable person, like most people, your body will begin to set yourself up to have the illness. Because we're taught as kids, at least I was, that your doctor is as close to God as you can get, and you have to believe and do whatever the white-coated thief is telling you. The master of the insane asylum. We're taught to respect those people. Remember Andy Griffith? Little House on the Prairie? Those old movies? Your doctor, you have to have some kind of allegiance to. Because you're stupid and you're a sinner and you don't know anything. He does. Because he went to school for 9 years. That in and of itself, if you have that kind of reverence for those con artists, can make you sick all by themselves just because of the words that come out of their mouth. That's why we here do so much explaining to people. When you got the head of National Institute of Health coming out a few years ago and says all microbes are airborne, do you think this fictitious information about, oh, polio, ooh, Ebola, ooh, Zika, ooh, Lyme disease, you think any of them scare tactics will work anymore? No. It's all fiction. But yet you believe it as something real, like Fox News. Okay, so I don't want to go. I don't go to the doctors. But yet you still get sick. What's up with that? Because you're on the internet looking around. I got these symptoms, and I'm looking on. You're on these chat boards and this all this stuff, and you're just bombarded with all this information. And most people lack the critical thinking skills to sort their way through the maze and mass information that's on the internet, which is strategically done that way. We don't have, as a society, critical thinking skills anymore. So now you're easily suggestible, operating out of fear, because you don't know. So you do a blood panel. Oh, you know you have all the symptoms of Lyme, but yet the sample test says, no, you're fine. They look for 5 bacterias. You don't have any of them in your blood. You don't have Lyme, but yet you're still sick. Don't realize there's over 100 different microbes associated with Lyme disease. It is all airborne. And most of those microbes don't live in the blood. Do you see what I'm saying? So you go to the doctor because you have a swollen lymph node in your breast or your groin or under your arm or on the back of your neck. That's what lymph nodes do. They get swollen. It's part of the dechelation process in a system that doesn't work very good. And, oh yes, that could be cancerous. We need to get you in here right away for a biopsy. They go in, they probe it, they poke it, they take some out. Oh yes, it's cancerous. We need to cut it out. We need to then radiate you and douse it with chemicals. Or you need to do coffee enemas and take SEACT and do all this other stuff if you're in the natural world. Not even thinking that it's just part of natural process there. Why is those lymph nodes swollen? Why are you so out of touch with your body that you even notice that this? How did you get to know that the lymph node's the size of a grapefruit? You just wake up one day? Do you check your body out to make sure that it's okay or do you wait until it's so bad that now you're growing this grapefruit on the side of your breast? You see, no one's into prevention. They don't think that way until it hurts so bad. Then they got to stop and then focus on their body. I say we need to teach people prevention. And I'm not directing this towards anybody. This is just thoughts. Because when I have a pain, when my knee hurts, or I have a pain in my foot, I'm like, okay, so the pain is right there by my arch. Where on the rest of my body? Okay, so now I'm looking at my back. Oh yeah, I was sitting wrong. My back was hurting. And one of the alarms is the arch area on my foot is associated with my back. See, this over the years I've learned this. They don't teach this. I wasn't taught this. I wasn't even taught this stuff in naturopathic school, let alone medical. That's why there's so many resources on our website. We're trying to teach you another way. So like if you do a scan with us and you look up and HIV shows up or chlamydia shows up or one or multiple Lyme bacteria show up, yeah, it's airborne. Your immune system's not operating very well. You don't feel good. It's not about killing the infection. It's about feeding your body. Feeding your body what it needs so your immune system can work properly. Your body can sense the environment internally or externally and then respond appropriately. That's the goal. Adaptation. It's almost break time again. A couple more minutes. It's really simple. I get to listen to people talking. I was in this restaurant the other day. We were eating, and we were just eating, and I was listening to the conversation going on. I couldn't help but listen to the conversation going on in the booth next to us. They were all sharing about their diseases and how they didn't talk about anything else other than their sicknesses. It's like people don't even talk about the weather anymore. They don't talk about things anymore. Like I don't know. I can't even think. I just, having just a regular conversation. It's like everyone's wearing their diseases out on the lapel of their coat, and it's like, look at my brass ring. Look at my badge of fatigue. Look at my badge of cancer. It's like our society has devolved into this craziness. I just want to go fishing. It's like, seriously, we went out to eat several times, and it's like, no, that's all you hear. It's worse than listening to the television with the commercials about pharmaceutical drugs. So what are you focusing your thoughts on? Delanne just had a quote earlier today. Worry, if I can remember it now, is praying for what you don't want. Yeah, that's what it was. Worrying is praying, like pray, P-R-A-Y, like on your knees, wishing for what you don't want. That's what worry is. Are you worried? So with that definition, worry is praying for what you don't want. So you're going to get it. Are you worrying today? Do you ever worry? You may want to find some different behaviors. It's like going to the doctor and saying, oh, you may have cancer, and then all the worry machine starts, and you'll get cancer. It's inevitable. You're creating it with your mind. Worrying is praying for what you don't want. Seems oxymoronic to me. But just assess what you're thinking about every day. That's what the whole ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, is all about. Stopping, transforming that mind, that overactive worry machine, into something that's going to benefit you. Hey, welcome back. This is your host, Will. This is the best show on the internet, an alternate perspective. You're hearing us on freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. So if you're listening, get your butt over to freedomslips.com. Figure out how you can participate in contributing to this network. Because without you, we can't continue to be here. Okay, moving right along. Let's go back to the phone number here. Where did it go? 320-298-4656 or 347-688-2902. There's your options. Okay. Nothing so far for calls. That's fine. I have lots of stuff to talk about. Mineral wheel and why we need the full spectrum all at once to be sure that all the minerals can be accessed. Okay. The mineral wheel. See, this is a issue with clinical science, or clinical nutrition rather. Clinical science in general, medicine. You spend a lot of time looking at dead bodies and parts of dead bodies and the central dogma. You figure things out. You take it apart. You dissect. You cut. You separate. You look at it. You isolate. You try to look at the pieces. You have a stomach problem? Fix the stomach. You have a knee problem? Fix the knee. Not even realizing that your knee problem is most likely your stomach problem. You see, that's where medicine in general is flawed. See, it's corporate medicine. The corporate entity is dead, non-living. Your corporate fiction. How about your medical fiction? Your medical straw man, like your corporate straw man, is a dead entity. It's a piece of paper. Same philosophy. That's why there's no humanity in medicine. Just like there's no humanity in government. or corporations. It's all paper fiction. Believe me, I sit on the board of several companies, the president of two. I'm also a trustee in several other companies and trusts and foundations. And believe me, in the corporate world, there's no humanity. It's all about the data, the paper, the fiction. It's same with your medical straw man. The paper the doctor looks at is you. It's not you, the body. It's you, the paper. It's you, the results of the tests. That's all they care about. It's against their licensure to care for you as a human. Because it's corporate medicine. So the thinking in the corporate world, in the clinical world, is based in elements separated out. Oh, you have a muscle cramp? You need magnesium. Not necessarily, you don't. Because you can douse yourself with magnesium and cause osteoporosis. You can douse yourself with magnesium, phosphorus, and calcium and cause yourself central nervous system problems. You can listen to these other people talking to you about clinical nutrition. See, clinical nutrition is information gained in a clinical setting, in a petri dish, outside of the human body. Just because there's elements in what they call food does not mean your body has the ability to extract those elements out and be useful to you. Just go over that again in your head for a moment. See, gluten is one protein in grains, nuts, and seeds that's highly toxic to mammals. Lectin is another protein molecule that is way more toxic than gluten. But they can't extract that out of the grains, nuts, or seeds economically, so you're stuck with, you can't get it out. You'll destroy the raw material. And it's expensive to get it out, so it's not economically feasible. Comes down to money, economics again. Everything in the industrial world comes down to economics. It's got to pencil out or it doesn't work. So you're told to eat a gluten-free diet. What about a lectin-free diet? I say go grain, nut, and seed free. Oh, just stop eating that crap. Because it's all poison. Yes, there's protein in there. Yes, there's minerals in there. Yes, there's these things in the petri dish in there. But like gluten, as soon as you swallow it, as soon as you chew it, as soon as you put it on your body, there's a toxic effect. Yeah, that's why kids are being born with diabetes, cancer, tumors, central nervous system problems, ADD, colic, all kinds of problems at birth. That's because mom is out of balance and mom made that baby that way. That's why prevention is the key. The doctors have set themselves up to be needed. If you eat according to what's going to feed your body the best, energetically as well as elemental, and that's, you got to have both. You don't put toxins on and in your body. You supplement appropriately. The body does the rest. You don't need the medical community. So they're good marketers, and they've created this need-based system. They create you to be ill, so you need them. It's the perfect marketing strategy on a corporate level. They teach you to go to school for 9, 10, 11 years to learn their methods to then be one of them. I'm saying that whole system is not necessary if you change your philosophy. You get rid of clinical nutrition thinking. You get rid of corporate structure thinking when it comes to health. You live into prevention. Body takes care of itself. See, that's the problem, though. You've been vaccinated. You're eating grains, nuts, and seeds. You're breathing poison air. You're living in emotional sewage. You're going to need health care sooner or later. Because if you're not being proactive, you will need sooner or later. I don't care if you're 70. Great. If you're not being proactive. How did I get there from minerals? I don't know. Oh, elements. You need a minimum of 12 to 15 minerals working in harmony for things to work right in your body. 15. We need a minimum of 60 minerals on a daily basis in our diet. Most people's diets consist of less than 30 minerals a day if they're eating biodynamic and organic. Oh, we have a caller. Add to group. Hold on, here we go. Let's try this. Hello? Hello? You need a minimum of 12 to 15 minerals working in.
Hello?
You're going to have to turn down your speaker. 15. Background. You need a minimum of 60 minerals.
Just a second.
Most people's diet is less than 30. Today. How are you doing, caller?
Yeah, I got you. Okay, hey, Dr. Will, this is John from the Public Law
Hi, John.
Research. John.
Hi, John.
Detroit, Michigan. Hey, how you doing? I just wanted to give the public law notice on the stipulations that you're talking about right now. It falls under the public record at the Federal Courthouse, United States Codes. It's all there. Title 7 under the Agriculture Department. And
a little bit. So what are you talking about? You're talking about how the policies interfere, connected to medicine, or how? What's your connection here?
That what you said is true, and the evidence is there under Title 7 under the Agriculture United States Codes under 136. Tell your listeners to read that, and they will see that you're speaking all truth. They have been planning this since 1925.
Okay, so let's repeat that one more time. You can find what I'm just talking about under which code number 7, and just go ahead, just repeat that again for the listeners, will you please, John?
Right, sure. That's title United States Code, Title 7, right, under Code 136 definitions and terminologies done by acts of genocide. And the main one I looked at was D, which made the clear stipulation under terms and administrators, which means the concept of animals, right?
Yep.
Which means all vertebrations, species, including and not limited to man.
Right. So the person is in there as an animal.
Yeah, as an animal, exactly. Yeah, you're walking dirt, so they have to facilitate the earth.
Right.
Yeah, so you're actually you're on the it's right there. You start reading it talks about pesticides, agriculture, genocide. It's concept of reality. It's in there. I mean, it just tells you straight out what they've been doing since 1924. Yeah, so you're on the exact. Your truths are declared, and it's there. It's evidence under United States Code under Agriculture, under Title 136, and let the listeners read that, and they'll start to realize that they have been doing the concept of micro war organisms since then, and you know that too because I think you did mention in a few of your lectures. I mean, the nutrition density value has been diminished since the early 1900s, hasn't it?
1936. It was known at the government level. 1936, Senate Document 264, I think it is. So yeah, it's been shortly after that. 10 years later, after the 20s that you were talking about, in the 30s, they knew this, and it's been public since then.
Yeah, and the thing the listeners need to know under the United States, I mean not the United States, but also the Geneva Conventions, which makes you under Article 22 a test subject. So when you go into their, facilities, you're being tested as like you said, you're walking in with their property. You can't walk out without their authority because you already submitted all documents, contracts, birth certificates, registered in the counties was their property. You gave up ownership.
It's like going into
the beginning.
You sign your name, and now you become property of the United States government in whatever military branch you're in, and then through the debriefing after your service contract is up, you get debriefed and released back to the population.
Yeah, but it never ends. It's a sine-die contract, meaning it always alters and changes of time. Time is just a linear aspect, and in terminologies, so that people don't understand the reality behind it. So they're tyrannical all across the board. I mean, it's not even funny. I mean, I'm telling you, I already put this on the public record at the federal courthouse in Detroit, Michigan, and they did nothing. And I did the issue for the poisoning of the water in Flint. And I told them they need to be held accountable from the top to the bottom. And they didn't do nothing. They're starting to, hold the peons. No. We want the administrators. We want the principals and the agents held accountable. Those are the big men. Those are the ones who have the immunity under the foreign immunity.
Right. You'll never get any satisfaction. Believe me, I'm sure you can attest to that, John. Because I've tried, believe me. There is.
Yeah, I know. We're fighting the same fight. Whether it's about the truth, and you're getting out there, you're showing them that it's the soil and it's the microorganisms. If you take care of that, it takes care of it. It goes up the ladder.
Right.
And that's your concept of truth. It works, and people are starting to realize that. Like you evidence it today. I mean, you showed them. They're like, okay, whatever. Let's do this for all of them, all the cattle.
Right.
Once they see it, they believe it. You can't tell them because their twisted ideologies and educational programming has basically overtaken them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's brain damage.
Yeah, it really is. They become retarded, and that's why the government has to think for you.
Right. Yeah, so this farmer got it because I helped one of his cows and then two of his cows, and then then that's working better than the vet. And the vet and the pharmaceutical industry isn't doing anything. They're just kind of mitigating the damage, slowing the damage down a little bit. But this farmer's losing like $30,000 a year because his cattle are dying.
Right. These are living species. We as human beings have a right to provide them what they need.
Right.
And that's the other issue that deals with the other aspect of things that from the animal to we've been defaced and devalued, and basically what is the other word that they use in stipulations and terminologies? I was just reading of the redistribution. That's what it is. They're always redistributing our estates, heirs, Haeres, and when they do that, they can basically do whatever they want. They have a right to make the final decision. They give you just a tenant ownership, basically, and whenever they want to revoke your tenant, they can do so because it's a privilege or a benefit, which is not a right. So the fact is the rights are always revoked under the constitutional law, basically, that they sign. You didn't sign it, so you're not subject to that contract. It's a sine-die contract. So just the concept of separating the body and the mind, or the temporal from the soul, the concept of spiritual and temporal, they've really divested us to the point where we are no longer able to think and act for ourselves. They have to tell us what to do.
So I got to ask you a question, and have you gotten anywhere in life knowing this? Is there any way out? Because believe me, the people that I've known and I've tried what little bit in practice of what I found out, it's a dead end no matter how far you go down that path. The whole system is to stop that way of thinking from perpetrating out past, very far. You get put in jail, you get, domiciled in their warehouse. I mean, whatever you want to call it, is they shut you up or they'll kill you.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely. It's very, very hard and complex. It has to be done by at a multi-million level human being. Concept of realities and truths. It can't be done in small groups. They do have the ultimate power. People are just basically being enslaved, indoctrinated and programmed under the fictitious concepts and demented ideologies. That's what they are.
Right.
And yeah, I've gotten some things done, but the thing about it, they will not comply to the public law of do no harm to the human beings. They're still doing harm. They're still facilitating us as sureties. They're still doing what they want to do. It's business as usual. That's what it is. It's a commerce on the Treaty of Navigation and Commerce, which means that they control the money because they created the money, so they're man god, and we don't have real money under the Constitution. So basically, we're going to be charged under their fake money, which is fiat money. You know, it's not gold and silver. So they're that's the way it is. We're not gonna get things done until the human beings really connect. I mean, to the point of mind, body, and soul, and that it's also not just the concept of law. It's also the concept of health. They're trying to destroy us. I mean, our life expectancy should be about 150 years on the average. We're living half of that.
Right. So
the concept.
Are you getting any satisfaction at all? I mean, I see getting people grouped together to do this because it's going to take a mass consciousness to have that kind of a shift. I'm not seeing that. This whole this new age of enlightenment and people are all aware of what's going on. Being aware of what's going on really doesn't make it any better because it's not getting any better.
Yeah, so the object is now we have to start divesting from these entities because they're just they're leading us to the pitfall. You know, they don't care. So the reality is whatever they're doing as what they call treatment. You know, the concept of treatment. Be aware that this treatment is not guaranteed. I mean, I just talked to a guy last week, cancer treatment, chemo, everything, isn't it? And this guy's got money. And he says 20,000 treatment, 30,000 treatment, and I'm like, why do that when you can do other things? Well, they put they use fear tactic and concepts that we are, like you said, the gods. So you have to go through us, the doctors, and we'll tell you how long you're going to live. But there's no certainty. The concept of religion aspect is only God knows, or the Supreme Being knows the time of death. So the other aspect is seeing is believing. When you hear things, it has no truth to it until you see it, and that's what you show them. You are doing. You're showing them that by letting them see, they're starting to believe that this stuff works, and it's simply, applicated. It's not something like you can avoid. It's there. It's just that you gotta see the unseen. That's the problem. They cannot see that.
Right. Well, we had a guy come to us not too long ago that he was sick. In his 60s, he got cancer. So then he went to the medical world. And they actually, they got him to sign his name on the line for this new experimental treatment. It was using genetically modified viruses where they actually injected him with this new genetically modified virus. And then 1 week, then the next week, they injected him with this weird chemical, which was supposed to force the immune system to go to turn on extensively to then knock the infection. It was just like craziness. Anyhow, it's like after all of that, then he starts looking because they released him from the trial because he was getting worse. So the viruses took over inside of his body, and so now they said, well, there's nothing else we can do. He can go home on hospice, and then, we're done because nothing's working. I'm like, what do you mean? That's just like, and then he's going to go look for natural stuff to try to then, go to natural to like fix himself. It's frustrating because they pumped his body full of genetically modified viruses. And then they poisoned him with chemotherapy. And then that didn't work. So now you go home on hospice, and that's basically your exit strategy. They just make you comfortable while you die.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a concept of a tough subject, and if all fails, they just draw death derivatives, and you're going to die and just sell you on the stock market. It's a common thing. They don't lose.
Right.
I mean, it's that bad. It's getting to the point where there is...
Millions of people are going down this path because they listened to these people in the white coats and the gray coats basically with this thinking that's it's immoral, it's inhuman, it's false, right? Basically,
True.
then it's farming. It's farming with a pH. It's a farming people. It's in the same realm as a rancher farming cattle. Really, just
right.
in a little.
They're basically also the other terminology is raising. They're raising, so they usually destroy, and then re-raise. Anything's done in re-aspect.
All right, welcome. This is an alternate perspective, and I'm your host, Will. You're listening to us on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the largest listener-sponsored network of its kind. So if you're listening, you best be contributing somehow. All right, so we're back to the show. Caller, John, are you here? Did you make it through the break?
Yeah, I did make it through it. So I wanted to get to the other aspect of my calling. Okay, you have teachings which are not false. So basically, from your experiences and knowledge, that when you see something, it becomes truths. A lot of the hype about the concept of apple cider vinegar, and I think it does more harm, but I need your understanding, your teachings of truths about that aspect.
Of the specific conversation of apple cider vinegar, or the concept?
Yeah, the concept, like detoxing, and does it really actually help, or does it do more harm, you think?
Well, it helps in the short term. It's like baking soda, or most of these natural health remedies that are out there now, like apple cider vinegar. It's a bandage. It makes you feel good,
Right.
but continue to do that long term, you're going to cause the body harm in the big picture, because you're preventing the body from doing something it's supposed to by forcing the acid levels to augment by consuming it. You basically, if you're going to take apple cider vinegar, it's like calms your stomach down. Okay? But if you do it over and over and over and over, like every day, like a lot of people get almost hooked on stuff like that, that's when the problem occurs. Because the body will get used to it, and then the body will get lazy. It'll adapt.
Yeah, because we have a concept of moderation is proper.
The body, yeah, exactly, but the body is supposed to modulate, or the body is supposed to regulate based on stimulus from the environment, internally and externally.
Right, you always do speak of the two aspects, which are important. People don't realize that.
Right. The goal is the body is supposed to regulate itself. And if you're going to do something like put a 5 acidity into your stomach to calm the stomach problems, and do that for a long term, you're going to cause the body to dysregulate or unable to regulate based on environmental stimuli, because you don't always eat things that are 5 acid. You eat things that are 8 acid, or you know what I'm saying.
Right. I just wanted to say I agree with you. A lot of those things because if you become too acidic, then it has to draw minerals or calcium out of the bones to diffuse the acidic level, right?
Right. Yeah.
That creates serious harm because that changes the blood pH.
Yeah, it messes with your pH. It causes the body so it can't regulate properly. And so it's it's like alkalizing through your mouth. Okay, your gut is supposed to be on the acidic side, and the rest of your body tissues are supposed to be on the alkaline side. So it's like a battery. You got to have a positive and a negative. You got to have an acid. You got to have an alkaline in order to have life force. So if you're going to be alkalizing through your mouth, you're eventually going to cause a problem in your tissues, because you're forcing the reversal of the acid and the alkaline environments in your body. The body is supposed
I agree with a lot of that. Yeah.
And I'm going on a little bit extra for the listeners.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
because some people don't understand it as quickly, and it takes a little bit hearing it a couple of different ways in order for, oh yeah, that's what he's saying. So it's not.
Trying to avoid the misinformation.
I'm trying to get people to see things for the way they actually are, not from the way they've been told. Because the way we've been told with medical information, biological information, is inaccurate for the most part. It's disinformation. It's not based in reality. It's based in medical fiction or clinical science.
Or clinical studies, yeah.
Yeah. I'm really glad you called. Didn't know the code number on this. I'm really glad you did. Thank you so much.
No, I enjoy talking to you. I've talked to you before, and believe me, I always try to listen to you as much as possible. And people, as you know, should always tell about you. I always tell people, listen to this guy because he's on the right path. He has the knowledge and understanding. He's getting down to the basics first, and then moving up. That's what he's supposed to be. You can't jump in the middle.
Right. You got to have a basic fundamental understanding. And for most people, it's not there based in reality. It's based in this, academic fiction that gets you in trouble.
Right. And the other aspect was that I used to deal with a lot of people doing the concept of stopping eating meat. And like you said before, and you said it many times, you will harm yourself. And there's a truth behind that, because there's a bacteria in your gut that comes from meat. And when you stay away from more than 30 days, your body alters or changes.
Right. And meat or animal products in general, I like to just, all animal, whether it's fish or eggs or, meat, there is, when you don't consume them, it does. It changes your biological terrain in your gut. And if you don't have those processes, you don't mind if we bring another caller in, do you, John?
No, go ahead. No problem.
Hold on a second. Okay. Callers, are you in? Hello? Hello, this is an alternate perspective. You called in. Yes, no? There's nobody there. Okay.
And then I had another situation I was dealing with. He was trying to do the pH water thing, 9.5, average, drinking it, and he wasn't getting what they call the inflammation in the sciatic nerve to adjust properly, always having those problems, joints, knees,
Yeah.
And even the pH water didn't help him.
Yeah, because the pH water doesn't help anything like that. I mean, it's a bandage, but there again, you're force modulating. Let's see if this caller is going to
Go ahead.
Try it again. Yeah.
Probably hit on the subject they want to listen or they want to ask.
Hello, this is an alternate perspective. Caller, are you there? I think so. One more time. Calling. Nobody's there.
Hi, this is Pepper. How are you?
Oh, there's Pepper. How you doing? This is Wil.
I'm doing fine. You're on this wonderful subject, and I was going to ask a question about your product, Digest Assist, anyway, and ask if you could review exactly what it does in alignment with what you were talking about with the apple cider vinegar.
I can talk in general because what it does for me is different than you, I'm sure, but it's Digest Assist is a microbial product, a fermented product. The microbes in the product break down plant material and aids in creating enzymes and digestion. And also, those microbes are responsible for controlling somewhat the pH balance in the upper GI.
Aha.
Okay, so
can you tell me more about how it does that?
How it does that? Well, it's just through the natural microbial process in there, because you're eating food to go into your stomach to get broken down to then move on to the intestines to where the microbes use it again. And so, exactly, I can't tell you that. I can only, we can only talk in theory here. based on, because what happens in my gut based on my environment and what's going on is going to be different than you. Everyone's different in that regard. But Digest Assist is called that because it assists in digestion. It also helps to break your food down even better. It helps those microbes in that particular product. Shoot, I lost my thought.
Well, the other thing that I was going to ask was how that differs from digestive enzymes and the whole subject of digestive enzymes.
Well, there again, if you're eating grains, nuts, and seeds, your enzyme production in general is going to be compromised. Your animal product enzymes aren't going to be working properly. Your vitamin C generation is going to be compromised because grains, nuts, and seeds shut off your enzymes to process and produce vitamin C in general. Then your animal product enzymes are going to be compromised. So we're trying to get those enzymes back, trying to put in the body what's needed so the body can then get rid of the metabolic waste buildup and the damage, reversing the damaging effects of poor enzyme production in general. And one of the products is Digest Assist that does that. We have 8 different microbial products that we use.
How do they differ? Do you know? I mean, offhand, the 8 different products that you have that are microbial?
They're all 8 different products. They have all different strains of microbes in them. We have over 500 strains of microbes in these 8 different products. And it's just different delivery mechanisms. It's different storage. They all act differently. So, but if you mix them all together, they don't store well. They don't transport well. They compete for space. They act differently. So we've isolated them down into different formulas to keep them alive, and then it's easier to use them therapeutically, medicinally, to get the body to function again.
That makes a lot of sense. That's the first time I've heard you describe it that way. That's way cool.
Well, that might have been the first time I actually answered that question like this. I don't know.
So when you isolate them down, like what kinds of things work best for certain conditions? Like how do you go about making that decision? I know when you do a hand scan that the software helps with that, but when you actually work with a client, how do you figure out what strains of microbes work well for different situations?
The easiest is with the scan because there's no guessing. But for instance, the Maniflora, there's one strain in the Maniflora. The fellow that figured he got 10 years, over $4 million in research and development to get that one strain of microbes to be stable and to be able to be stored and shipped and all of that. There's over $4 million of R&D just in that one strain of microbes.
Wow.
Okay, the same thing with our 100 Plus. The 100 Plus, there's over 120 different strains of microbes in there. These are different soil microbes. It took close to $10 million of R&D to get that particular grouping of microbes to successfully live together, store together, and to be used. So it's the research and development, there's millions and millions of dollars and a couple of decades of time in all of our products. So this is no accident. This is not a very simple explanation or process to get where we are. This is an evolution. And it's different strains. It's about the broad diversity of strains, not the colony counts. The colony counts, that's all marketing crap when you're marketing, because I have 52 billion colony form units of lactobacillus or whatever. We don't sell colony counts. We sell strain diversity. epigenetics at its fundamental academic information right now in the last over the last 5 years, they're talking about the diversity of strains is the secret. It's not the colony form counts, the colony form units. That's the secret. The secret is the diversity of strains. And that's where we're at.
So did Body Electrician work with other agencies when they came up with their products?
No
Or is
agencies
this...
work with agencies. My mentors, who I talk about, have over the years developed those certain procedures and practices to raise these particular microbes.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this, Wil.
I don't work with agencies, though. We are we don't have anything to do with FDA, EPA, USDA. We're not in that world at all. We're over here in the real world, in real life, that is non-corporate for the most part, because we're based in foundation or trust law, which is non-corporate, okay? And so I don't want to be in that academic corporate world, because over there you don't have the same thinking. You see, that's the difference. Like John was saying earlier on the call, the difference, and I don't know if you got to hear that or not, but the government has made all people in U.S. Code 7, and you can, I don't know all the name, I didn't remember all that, the technical mumbo jumbo, but we're not people. In the corporate world, we're not humanity. Okay, but the problem is allopathy is designed for dead people. It's not designed for making you vibrantly healthy human beings. And I don't know how to say that simply, Pepper. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, on your last show last week, you were talking about elemental and trying to language concepts that are really difficult for people that are overdosed with vitamins and minerals and the supposed new health industry, which many times can be very bunky and not at all holistic, as they tote. So, I mean, I get that. That was a really good show, and the way you attempted to language elemental sounds really related to the same thing that you're talking about here, because how it works in action in the human body with real food is something very different than an isolated mineral or an isolated product that the body may not be able to recognize.
Right, and unfortunately, most of your supplements on the market are unrecognizable elements. They're actually toxic if you put them in your mouth and swallow, because there's virtually no life force in the supplement, first of all. I got a call the other day from somebody just to talk about life force. They called to complain about a couple of our products, because every time they open it up and they tip the jar to their lip, it shocks them on their lip. And, perfect. I said, that's what it's supposed to do. There's so much life force, static energy built up in that bottle, that when it gets grounded to your skin, your lip, it arcs across, and you feel the life force in the bottle. I said, that's what we're after. And they're called to complain, to say that we're supposed to basically take life force out of our products, so that doesn't happen.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
That's true, because you're talking about the body being electrical, and it responds to electric current.
Yeah, we're trying to put that energy into your body, and yet people are complaining that we're doing that because it hurts. I mean, our machinery here, a couple of our bottlers, you have to have a non-rubber shoe, and the container, everything has to be grounded to the floor, or there's so much static energy in one of our bottlers that it will arc and it will burn you like a shock on a 110 outlet.
Right, it's just a solid. Just take off your shoes and your socks and stand outside on the ground and take the supplements.
Yeah, right. That's what I told them. I said, take your shoes off when you drink. I said, then it won't be you won't be, you know, there won't be such a discharge. You'll be then, the energy will travel through you into the ground rather than arcing through, you know, discharging onto your lip like a capacitor. Or, excuse me, a capacitor. Their body is so depleted of life force that whatever life force is in that bottle will jump across space and time into their body, and it will cause them that arc. That's because their body is so diminished in life force. Our bottle full of product is so full of life force, it will draw the energy out of the bottle and into your body like lightning. That's what I'm after. That's my goal. And see, people, their thinking is totally backwards. It's like that's bad.
Well, I think it's great, actually. I would love to be able to open my products and have that happen. It doesn't happen with a lot of things at the health food store. I know that for sure.
I've never that way from the health food store.
You know,
I think the regular most of the product.
Go ahead.
I also have some questions on some of the wild-crafted products that you have, like the CRST and the AHGF. I know that, understanding that. Like, can you talk to me a little bit more about the CRST? I know it's from the creosote bush, but, like, how do you... What's
CRST is not from a plant. CRST, I have a friend who uses a specific laser to burn wood, a specific wood that's only been sustainably harvested, wild-crafted cherry. And he uses his laser to burn wood to make products. And I collect the creosote that builds up in his chimney and his machinery for that product. That is actual creosote that we extract all the benefits out of it to make a tincture out of.
What are things that it's good for?
It's very antimicrobial. Creosote has been used for tens of thousands of years as medicine. It's the same stuff they put on railroad ties to keep them from rotting. It's the creosote they put around fence posts to keep them from rotting. Creosote repels microorganisms. That's why.
The antioxidant issue?
Say it again?
Does it deal with the antioxidant issue?
No. It just does not. You cannot have microorganisms in the same environment as saturated with creosote. It's impossible. That is some of the plant oils that are burnt. Okay, so just look at the plant, the tree. The tree has these oils. You burn the wood, the oils get released in the smoke. They condense to the inside of the chimney. Okay? There's no microbes that grow in that environment. This is the medicinal value of all plants have these oils. End of the show already. Oh, man, I can't believe it. We're going to have to call next week and just... Okay, well, show's over.
Thank you, Will.